The next question goes first to Congressman Spratt. We have discussed the deficit, and it has come up multiple times, but this question is about our debt. We are leaving a trillions and trillions of dollars, estimates at 13 trillion I have here, for our children and grandchildren. What specific action should we take to begin reducing the debt?
Well, let me first respond to something that Senator Mulvaney just said. That the best thing business government can do is get out of the way for business. When he did a substantial subdivision called St. Catherine's, Edenmore, over in Lancaster County, and went to the county council, was the first place he went, and asked them for a $30 to $60 million bond to develop the infrastructure. It just strikes me as strange that people profess to be conservative when it comes to their own personal interest, take different attitude about the extent to which government should become involved.
Wow.
With respect to the debt. Congressman, is this part of your 3 minutes towards how to reduce the debt?
We reduce the debt by getting the deficit down, because the deficit is an annual figure, the debt is a permanent figure. It is perilous, the levels that it's going to now. I've been appointed as a Democrat to the Fiscal Commission. And our charge is that we will come back with recommendations to balance the budget in the near term by 2014. And then we will, in the long run, make recommendations which we hope can be enacted in a reasonable period of time to make Social Security assuredly solvent and to make Medicare assuredly solvent. It won't be easy by any means. Hard to bring Democrats and Republicans together. Hard to make the public understand. But it's something we've absolutely got to do. And it's one reason I would like to go back to Congress is to complete the work of that Fiscal Commission as we did in 1997 to pick up where we left off there.
Thank you, Congressman Spratt. State Senator Mulvaney, specific actions to reduce the debt.
Sure. We've already been talking about this out on the trail. One of the things I always get frustrated with is people say, well, the Republicans are always the party of no. We don't have any ideas. And I said, that's not, if you don't want the answer no, ask a different question. If the answer is, do you want health care, the answer is always no. But we do have some good ideas that are going around there. We've talked, for example, about the possibility of matching federal pay to public sector pay to private sector pay. If you're a CPA with 4 years experience and you work at the Department of Energy, is there really any reason you should be making twice what the same person makes in the private sector? That simple change, by the way, would save us roughly $47 billion a year. It would also take the government out of the business of competing for the best people with the private sector. Talk about rolling back spending in 2008 levels. Okay? Discretionary spending has increased by 84% since the 2008 budget. Last time I checked, the government wasn't suffering much because of budget cuts in 2008. I think we should take the spending back to 2008 levels. We also talk about hiring freezes. Talk about, and you can go down the list, by the way. We're going to post to the website probably as many as 50 or 100 different ideas. We still subsidize first-class rail travel in this country. We still spend a couple $2 billion on that every year. I found out today, by the way, when I was doing research, that the Federal Communications Commission actually sponsored a NASCAR drive this year in order to promote the transfer to digital television. There are a lot of really good ideas that we can take as a Republican Party to Washington next year with new leadership and get the spending under control, recognizing the fact that we betrayed the people's trust in the early half of this decade and spent money like Democrats, and we should not have done that. Lastly, I do want to speak to the last thing. You just heard a United States Congressman reference in a debate an anonymous internet blog that everybody who knows anything about the facts has dismissed as being a blatant and dirty political attack.
That's right.
The Democrat chairman of county council called it hogwash. The county administrator said there was absolutely nothing wrong with my involvement in that project. I sold a piece of property in 2005 to somebody in 2009 to get out of trouble. And I am stunned. And I don't fake stun very well. I am stunned that a congressman raised that in a debate like this. That is one of the most unsubstantiated and low-blow personal attacks I think I could imagine under these circumstances, and I'm very disappointed with it.
If you look at our time, we have come to the end of our debate. Now we are going to have our closing statements. Again, by the flip of the coin, Senator Mulvaney had the very first words of these debates. Congressman Spratt will have the very last. That means in the closing statement, Senator Mulvaney goes first. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Scott. I want to start by, I didn't get a chance to thank the Lions Club when we started. I really appreciate y'all doing this. I had a chance to tell a few of you that my relationship with the Lions Club is very near and dear to my heart. My very first political speech, which was all 4 years ago, to somebody other than my family, who's to the Lions Club in Fort Mill, South Carolina. And I've always had a special place in my heart for you folks. I appreciate everything that you do, especially when it comes to dealing with site issues. I want to thank the Congressman. The last comment notwithstanding, I do appreciate him being here. We wouldn't be here but for him agreeing to do this. In all candor, I do wish that next time we get a chance to do this, and I hope there's a next time, that we open it up to just the 220 lucky few who were here. I would have liked to see this broadcast this evening. I think it's helpful when smart and well-meaning people get together to have an open debate on the issues. Nothing bad ever comes from that. Everyone would benefit from seeing what happened here today. Whether you're Republican, a Democrat, or independent, the more people who are involved in this process, the better. I'm going to count on the rest of you who weren't here to take the message out. What's the message? The message is that I think there really are some things that we can build on in the 5th Congressional District that we agree on. I think we agree, for example, that we should be able to pick our own doctors. I think we agree that the government should tell us how it's going to spend our money. I think we all agree, Republican, Democrat, Independent, that we cannot continue to spend money that we do not have. And if you agree with that, and your friends agree with that, the independents, folks who have never been involved in politics before, agree with that, let's use that as the starting point for discussion about how to save this country. The reason I'm optimistic about it is there was a time when even this gentleman agreed with that. There was a time when my congressman would have been the loudest voice against what was happening in Washington, D.C. There was a time when my congressman would have been the one to stand up to Nancy Pelosi in healthcare and say, no more. I went with you on the other things, I'm not going with you on this. He was in the right place, in the right time, on the right issue to make a real difference for the people in South Carolina. There was a time when he would have stood up and led the charge against what was happening in Washington. Those times have changed. And because those times have changed, I think it's time for the new congressman. Thank you very much.
Congressman Spratt, your closing statement, please. 3 minutes.
Nick, let me make clear what I was saying, because I think it bears clarification. That you assemble a substantial tract of land in Indian Township for subdivision purposes. And once you had assembled this land, you went to the county council and asked them if they would issue bonds, which are made under state law as I understand it, to pay for the improvements, the infrastructure and improvements on that particular site. I was simply noting the irony that you profess conservative, and you are conservative, no question about it. I would not challenge those credentials. I thought it was a bit odd that you would do that. Ask the county council to do what normally developers like River Hills did when they developed this plantation here. See Times Company approved the bill. The large money yourself didn't come to your county and ask for it. A couple of final observations. This has been a good debate. I've enjoyed participating in it. Enjoyed the liveliness of my opponent's charges and counter charges. I think the debate does show the difference between us and pretty solid things. Some of us votes to the best you can in the state General Assembly. So there's one particular amendment you made to eviscerate ETV, public television. Wipe out its funding completely for next year, which would have destroyed ETV as we know it today, and I think one of the best things we got going in the state government. So I would disagree with you emphatically on that. There was another occasion when I take some pride in the Children's Health Insurance Program I helped create it in 1997. We showed that we could do something compassionate like that, put it in a budget, and still be fiscally responsible and socially compassionate. And we paid for it with the cigarette tax, didn't add a dime to the bottom line of the budget. I'm proud of the Children's Health Insurance Program. It made a sweet deal with South Carolina. For every 20 cents we put up, the federal government will match it with 80 cents for children's health care. That's a good deal. But when the Senate voted on children's health care, Senator Mulvaney was not there. He arrived late and announced that had he been there, he would have voted no. One of 2 senators out of 46 who said they would vote no for the Children's Health Insurance Program. I could go on, the list is long, but there is a difference between me and him as we go into the final weeks of this campaign. I think the differences will be obviously manifest to us. Thank you for the opportunity, the Lions Club. Nick?
Thank you.